And I do think that when it comes to nursing and pharmacy, if you're going to compare, pharmacists and nursing, I can pretty much guarantee that there's probably way more content on the internet about becoming a nurse and being a nurse than there is about becoming a pharmacist and being a pharmacist. Hey y'all, glad you came. I'm Monique. Welcome and welcome back. Today we're talking all things pharmacy and nursing. We're going to be ending up the series that I started, which is part 1 of 3 and 2 of 3 of choosing to be a nurse versus a pharmacist, despite the fact that I have been a pharmacy technician for nearly 2 decades. So I'll put the card for those other videos right up here. You guys can go ahead and watch those as well, and then come back and watch this, or watch this first and go watch those. However you want to do it, they're going to be there. So the last reason that I have to talk about just briefly is entrepreneurship. Now, I'm already an entrepreneur. I'm already someone who makes content about the things that I do in my life that I am comfortable sharing online, right? And I do think that when it comes to nursing and pharmacy, if you're going to compare, pharmacists and nursing, I can pretty much guarantee that there's probably way more content on the internet about becoming a nurse and being a nurse than there is about becoming a pharmacist and being a pharmacist, and for many reasons, right? And so I feel like the path to entrepreneurship in nursing is already pretty much set. It's already been laid, the foundation, the road, if you will, as to, how to do that. There are so many different avenues along this path to go down as a nurse. You can even start that like I'm doing right now. I'm already making content about my experience and how I'm navigating my way through nursing school as an adult, as an adult student over the age of 30. So you already have an avenue of entrepreneurship before you even become a nurse, because you're sharing the experience, right? And then even after you become a nurse, you have your license, there are certain things you can do. You can do, different clinics. You can do, different types of programs to help people who may have diabetes or whatever the case may be, right? Or maybe helping people lose weight. There are all types of things you can do with the knowledge that you have as a nurse to help other people on your own schedule, within your own business. And of course, there are logistics, legalities, and different things like that. Those things can be taken care of rather simply, if you do them correctly. But I do think that, like I said, the avenues are there, and the marketing is there, and the audience is there, right? There's already a huge audience ready to consume content about becoming a nurse and being a nurse, and even ready to consume content about, how to make money as a nurse outside of bedside nursing. So a lot of people who do bedside nursing here on YouTube, they actually use YouTube as a creative outlet, and it becomes another stream of income for them in addition to the income that they have from being a nurse. And it allows them to be able to, work PRN or work part-time, possibly work a little bit less, right? But while still helping people within that field if they want to. Some nurses choose to use their content and their entrepreneurship as something, as a creative outlet where it has nothing to do with nursing. And then some nurses choose to use their knowledge as entrepreneurship because they just do. So like if they're an ICU nurse, they may have courses and podcasts and different things like that about being an ICU nurse. I'll tell you right now, before I even started nursing school, pre-nursing school, there were podcasts I listened to, one of which, the Straight A Nursing Podcast, that's a whole business. That is a whole, just talking about the different conditions that you're going to be studying when you get into the core nursing program, the disease pathology, different things like that. People have already made, extensive bodies of work on the internet for that. That's how they make money. They literally have podcasts helping other nurses, and they go to work as a nurse one day a week, if not one day a month, because they have to keep the skill up, obviously, keep the license up. But what I'm saying is, like I said, like that, those paths, like they're there for you to be able to help other people and have your own business. So I do feel like it's a bit easier as a nurse to do that because you already have some type of blueprint and foundation as to how to market, how to, create different types of client funnels and different things like that, how to email. There's a lot of business administration things behind the scenes as well, but you don't have to figure it out by yourself because the wheel has already been rolling. So whereas with a pharmacist, there are people on the internet making content about that, but I feel like sometimes it can be a little bit limited because obviously a pharmacist is doing things for pharmaceuticals, right? And you don't have any ownership over pharmaceuticals. That that's owned by the company. So, you know, I've always told the pharmacists that I work with, I'm like, hey, you guys should start a podcast. Just letting people know about the medications and maybe some of the knowledge that you have about side effects, the chemistry behind the medications. I don't know the legalities of that. I really don't. And so maybe that is something that holds them back. Only they know that. But I do know of some pharmacists here on YouTube, and I think there's one that has like an Instagram podcast that I just recently started following. She's a female pharmacist in a different state, but I love to see her content because what she has to offer is helpful. People, what you think people know automatically, they don't. The most simple thing to you is something they don't even think about, because this is your profession. Whenever something is your profession, you know 10 times more than the next person because you deal with this every day, right? And so I think if pharmacists thought more in that way, they would do more with content. So it is not like, oh, well, they don't need to do content because they make so much money. I don't think that's the case because a lot of times they do have a lot of debt. So they would, like to pay off that debt, right? And content creation could be a way to do that that is fairly simple using the knowledge you've already, gained over the past 6 years or 8 years of being in school. So yeah, I do think entrepreneurship at this point in time is something that's easier, in my opinion, for someone pursuing some type of nursing, whether it's like an LPN, an ADN, a BSN, whatever the case may be. There's an audience for that, right? There's a large audience for that. Also, because nursing is just such an awesome thing to do, in my opinion. Within reason. I think when you keep a balance, work-life balance, and different things like that, and when you know what you're getting yourself into, it can be something that is enjoyable. There are things about it that unfortunately are probably terrible, but at the same time, that's what I'm saying. You have to know what's for you. You have to know what you're getting yourself into. You really do. So, anywho, that is the last point. Is entrepreneurship and the ease of entrepreneurship as a nurse versus a pharmacist. So again, both parties can participate in content creation, but like I said, the blueprint has already been well laid out for those ones who are pursuing a nursing job or license. So yeah, but yeah, just a casual little conversation there. I hope you guys really enjoyed the series. I think the series, I can't talk. I think the series is really nice because these are conversations that I have in real life. But to have them online, I think is nice because it gives you like a perspective to think about and something more to consider when you're choosing whether or not to be a pharmacist or registered nurse or whatever the case may be. And maybe you didn't even know some of those things about, what is required to be a pharmacist. So hopefully it was helpful. And like I mentioned in my other videos, I really enjoy working with my pharmacists. I think they're great and I have a great time helping them do their job. So yes, but anyway, if you guys have any experiences in either pharmacy or nursing, let me know. If you're like me and you're transitioning from pharmacy to nursing, let me know. I look forward to your comments as always. And I hope that you guys have a peaceful and productive rest of your day. And I will talk to you on the next upload.